everybody, and welcome to the Sports Card Advantage podcast. This is episode 23. I am Jeff, and that is Bunk. What is going on, Bunk?
What's up, Jeff? Staying up just for you.
Staying up late on a Tuesday just for the episode. It's a heavily featured Bunk episode today, so people are going to want to tune in.
Not good.
And let me clear that up. It's a heavily featured episode where Bunk will not be ranting at PSA for this episode. He will be actually talking baseball. We will get to that here in a minute. For everybody's clarification, we are recording this episode August 31st at 9:40 p.m., well past Bunk's bedtime. We have some Sports Card Advantage business that we need to get to first. Last week, for those of you that tuned in, we did our first ever secret card giveaway where you have to listen to the podcast. We will announce a secret card, and then you send us an email to enter. We unfortunately didn't have a great showing, so the 9 people that entered will have a really good chance to win one of the 3 cards. We will be doing this every week, so for those of you that didn't participate last week, please feel free to hop in. All you have to do is send us an email to info@sportscardadvantage.com. If you entered last week, you can enter as many times as you want. We'll be doing it, every week. So this week will be the last week we do it right at the top of the episode. We're actually going to make you earn it and listen to us for however long, and then you can enter. But for the time being, we're going to random.org this. Bunk, give me a number between 1 and 10.
In terms of who's winning this thing?
No, give me a number between 1 and 10 as far as how many times I'm going to randomize this thing.
Oh, let's random 7 times.
7 times. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Winner is Brian W. That's Brian W. You are the winner of this week's secret card. I will reach out to you to get your address so that we can get that sent out to you. Thank you very much for participating.
Nice.
What'd you say?
I said nice, good odds.
Yeah,
Free card.
Absolutely. So for this week's secret card, we have another 3 choices for you. First one is a 2010 Topps Rob Gronkowski SGC 9.5. The next one is a 2020 Donruss rated rookie Tua SGC 10. And finally, for those of you that are fans of this podcast, we actually bought this card live on the podcast. 2018 Donruss Optic Weston McKennie PSA 9. We bought a lot of those, and we have one, so we'll be giving that away. So all you have to do to enter is send us an email to info@sportscardadvantage.com. That's info@sportscardadvantage.com. Everything is completely free. We do not spam you. We do not sell your email address, so there's no reason why you shouldn't enter. Last piece of business before I turn over the main stage to Bunk's main event for today is our fantasy league. We actually had some people that are interested. We do have a couple spots left, so please, if you'd like to enter the Sports Card Advantage Fantasy Football League for this year, also send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. Bunk and I will be managing one team, and then everybody else, you guys will have your own teams. The prize for this is we'll find a football slab that's worth $200 to $300, and whoever wins the league will win the prize. Also, completely free to enter, and happy to have you guys on board, and we'll provide some updates on the league from time to time. We'll give you guys a choice of 3 or 4 slabs that are worth $200 to $300, and whoever wins can take the choice of which card that they want.
You have to beat us to get the card.
You have to win the league.
All right.
If we win the league, because we're such fantastic fantasy football players, then we'll random off the other teams, and we'll give the card out to somebody else.
Says the guy that just drafted Saquon Barkley.
Yes, says the guy who just drafted Saquon Barkley. Says the guy maybe from an investment standpoint, Saquon might be a good buy right now. But
Yeah. Well, when I talk ACL injuries later, you might change your tune.
yes, well, that's a little tease for Dr. Bunk and those who drafted J.K. Dobbins. Sorry about that. Anyway, for the first time ever, I will be passing off the main event
Oh man,
to Mr. Bunk. It's that time of year, 8:31, the day before September call-ups. So we're gonna do a little baseball special here. Bunk's got a couple guys that are potential call-ups. Would be guys that you can look at for some investment purposes for longer term, I believe. But I'm not gonna steal his thunder. He's gonna walk you through some of that. And, we'll chat about it. So without further ado, let's talk baseball call-ups.
yeah, hop in at any time, dude. I should be more fired up. The problem is, I sat down and go, all right, who's coming up? And I said, oh, we're still under COVID MLB rules, so September sucks still. They're only allowed to expand the roster from 26 to 28. Usually you can expand it to 40. So teams in the bottom would sometimes bring up 7 or 8 guys just to see what's going on with them. So a lot of these teams only have room for 2 people to call up. So most of these teams are not under any pressure to do so. The other negative is because the AAA season, a lot of people don't realize this, the AAA season started so late this year. It's running almost through, I think, the first week of October, actually. So teams, instead of getting their guys some major league at bats that might be close because they'd otherwise be at home on their couch because the AAA season's over, they can get an extra 100 plate appearances down in the minors through the month of October, through the month of September. So why bring them up?
Yeah.
So normally I'm pretty excited, but not so excited this year because I think some of the people I want to see probably aren't going to get the call. But
way to sell it, guy. Way to sell it. That this is a really exciting segment here.
You can't sell it. You can't sell it. Everyone knows it. No big deal. But so I tried to theme the focus here.
Focus. Okay.
I looked at 3 top 10 picks from the 2019 draft who are all pretty much ready to be in the majors. So that's pretty cool. You have the first overall pick from that year in Adley Rutschman, catcher in Baltimore. He's absolutely raking in AAA. It's really just a logistical thing for the Orioles. He can be play right now probably in the majors. But he's not on the 40-man roster yet, so they'd have to add him and officially make his major league debut. Then you got also from that class, drafted right after Adley, the Royals took Bobby Witt Jr., also raking in AAA, ready to come up. But Adley's 23, Bobby's 21. Do we see Bobby? Maybe not. There's just no need to call him up. And then the 8th overall pick that year is someone who I think you might see. I was trying to see if there's any rumor mills on this guy, but he was hurt at the beginning of the year, so he kind of fell under the radar. So I started scooping some of his stuff up. Is the 8th overall pick by the Rangers, Josh Jung. So I know that name's been floating around.
Spell that last name.
Jung, Jung.
Okay. So with that being said, you don't think that Adley or Bobby Witt are getting called up in September? Is that correct?
My guess, listen, I don't know crap about what these front offices are thinking in terms, what they want to do or not. Can they all be playing right now? Probably. Do I think Bobby Witt's going to come up? No, I don't. Do I think Josh Jung comes up? I'm guessing yes, he does. And then with Adley, 50-50.
Okay. So with that being said, what cards am I looking at for all 3 guys? And then, we'll talk about a couple of other things, for some guys that have been up and down and maybe down and may come back up.
So as I've mentioned many times, I like refractors. So I was looking at all their Bowman first refractors, PSA 10s, and was pleasantly surprised to see the Adley and the Jungs you can have for under $100. The Adleys are in the 175 to 225 range. The pops are not insane on these at all. And then those are both from 2019 Bowman Chrome draft. So draft comes out after the draft, obviously, and they make that checklist that year.
So just for clarification, for those that may not be huge into baseball, I make the correlation when I hear draft in the product as a negative because for football and basketball, anything that has draft in the product means they're in their college uniforms and it's not worth as much. That is not the case here, correct?
No. Not in baseball with Bowman.
Okay.
Nope. So you can easily have someone's first Bowman card in the draft product from that year.
And they're in pro unis.
And they're in pro unis.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing about that is, so Witt is also, they're all from the 2019 class, but Witt didn't make the 2019 checklist in Bowman Chrome draft. I'm not sure the logistics there, if it was a contract thing or whatnot. So his first Bowman isn't until 2020. The first Bowman released in 2020. So those, as I was joking around with you earlier, it seems like people are hoarding those. Granted, also now the chronology of when that product came out, there's not a lot of graded ones up right now. A handful are ending this week, tomorrow, next couple of days for the savvy individuals that are banking on a possible call up. But as far as past sales data, there's not a ton on the Witt refractors. It's crazy.
Okay, so 2019 for Rushman and Jung, Bowman draft refractor, PSA 10. Jung is around $100. Rushman's about 175. And then
225. Yeah, these are all auction prices. I excluded offers.
And then where's Bobby Witt?
Bobby Witt's a lot more.
A lot more.
Okay. Bobby Witt's like double that. I couldn't even find a refractor. I think I saw one and I dismissed it because it was a huge best offer. But so I couldn't even find a recent Bobby Witt refractor PSA 10.
So as a possible under the radar, you're looking at Jung for around $100. Who has, out of these three guys, has the highest probability of call up, more than likely, based on what you think?
If I had to guess, I'd say yes. But even so, the normal, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, the normal hype or potential jump you get in the September from some hyped prospect that has a good couple weeks, I just don't think you're going to see this year, because you're not going to get the volume and names there, and the guys that you might see already well known to everyone. So I'm looking at it this way. For Adley and Witt in particular, everyone knows those guys, 1 and 2 in the draft. They're pretty high price right now. So if they did get the call up, their numbers are already so high. Maybe we see a nice new ceiling on that stuff. And then I use that data and take it with me into November, December, January, and see if it settles down at all to a point I'm comfortable with getting in on it then.
So for Adley and Bobby, you're waiting until November, December, because there's a high probability they'll be in the bigs next year. Similar to like Wander, where they'll be spring training with the big club. They may start down, but at some point they'll be brought up. And then Jung could get brought up in September, so you could see a bump, but at the very least he'll be in the on the team next year to start the season.
I think all three are going to be in the bigs next year early. I think the only catch is Jung's 22, I believe. Like I said, Adley's 23. So Adley will probably start the season next year with the big club. Witt, they may elect to do the whole, wait till May 1st just to get that extra year of control on him. So he'll still be up early enough where, he'll be in Topps Update next year as a rookie card. And I think Jung will be on the team as well.
Okay.
So, but again, because there's really nobody here I'm super pumped about in terms of quick flip. I'm using this information of if they do get called, where the cards spike to, and then see how they settle over the winter and decide if it's a good price for me or not.
So for those of you that want to roll some dice because you just like to do that kind of thing, then Jung would be your pick here as far as best opportunity for a flip.
Yeah, and if you're concerned about the prices there, they also all have, now I know everyone loves the first Bowmans, but I love Bowman's Best to death. So they all have cards in 2019 Bowman's Best. Those also can be had across the board much less than, at a 10 level, much less than the first Bowmans.
Gotcha.
So if you wanted to get in now on any of those guys, like, Witt has one insert in the 2019 Bowman's Best, PSA 10, that's not terribly, unaffordable. So okay. You can always hop in on that at that level.
And to change gears to one other guy, I know we were talking Kalenic, however you want to pronounce his name, before, as far as some of his prices. He's a guy who's bounced up and down between majors and minors. But you had said to me that his cards were at some, recent.
His first Bowman refractor PSA 10 is at, I believe, just about an all-time low at its lowest point recorded on Card Ladder.
And then what's his status these days?
Well, the good news is he's raised his average from like 0.90 to 150. The problem is, in that span, he's only hit 190 to get it there.
And
So
is he in majors? He's in the minors. Where is he at?
yeah, he's in the majors. He's in them. He's in the majors. He's getting experience.
Okay.
He's a young dude. I mean, he's still a guy I'm looking at that I'd be comfortable with. If a card of that nature, his first bone refractor is an all-time low, and I want to, and I think he could be a player. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an all-time low.
Okay.
That's where I want to get in at.
Yep. So I mean, Kalenic definitely a very hyped prospect, and if his cards are at some all-time lows right now because he's not hitting his body weight, it'd definitely be something to take a look at if you have any sort of longer-term faith on. But it's definitely not going to be any kind of flip. You're gonna be waiting on this for until at least next season, and if he can get hot and start to play up to his hype, then you should looking at quick increases in price.
Yeah, the hype sale on him's over. That's gone. You need to wait for a hot May of 2022, and then you dump it.
Yep. Okay. Anything else in the baseball call-ups, guys? You think may get called up, or just because the rosters are so tight that more than likely teams are going to leave these guys down and let them get another X amount of at-bats in the minors versus letting them come up and sit the bench?
Yeah, I know. I mentioned the two guys that the Nats got back in the Turner and Scherzer deal. Josiah Gray went right to the majors and is in their rotation, and he's on a call up because technically got called up, I guess, yesterday or the day before. But Keibert Ruiz is up now. Big time power hitting catcher in the minors. So he's someone I'm looking at this offseason. And if you like catchers, another guy, and he's very familiar. He's been in the bigs, but he's been raking these last couple of weeks in the minors. Is the Padres guy, Luis Campusano. I expect he'll probably be up tomorrow.
And if I ask you to spell that, can you spell that?
Camp. Okay. Usano.
Gotcha. Alrighty. So yeah, some things, some guys to look at. Ruiz, Campusano, all longer term investments. Unfortunately not a whole lot of quick flip opportunities, but that's all good. Put some stuff in the shelf.
Simply the product of the seasonality right now.
Yeah.
We're getting towards the end.
Sticks himself in a drawer and wait until next season, or keep an eye on it over the offseason. As soon as baseball's over and football and basketball are priority, baseball prices are going to slide. So you'll see stuff in December, January, before, pitchers and catchers start to get everybody revved up again. That usually is when you'll see your lows for baseball. So if you have an itch and want to buy now, great, but you probably will see some better prices in 2 to 3 months.
Yep, now's the time. Do the homework.
Yep. All right, so we'll keep the baseball train rolling, shifting gears from call-ups to playoffs, and we'll go into our investment section. This week we are talking 1 baseball and 2 basketball. We're starting to look more at basketball just because basketball season hasn't started. Preseason hasn't started. Football prices are already starting to jump, and we have a couple football guys we'll be talking about. But once guys start to take the field and start to put up numbers, these prices are going to jump like crazy. So we'll talk about a little bit about that in a bit. But Yordan Alvarez is a guy that you're looking at for playoffs for baseball this year, correct?
Yeah, so in terms of trying to flip something sooner than later, I was looking at his 2020 Topps Chrome Refractor rookie card. PSA 10 has a low pop at 377. I was actually shocked to see, because I banned the Astros in my head for a while, being a huge Yankee fan and with the whole buzzer scandal. But I was shocked to see how low is PSA 10, of selling at about $100. And then I looked to see there's only 7 9.5s of BGS of that card, and the last one actually recently sold in July for $51. And for a young hitter such as Alvarez, who's playing pretty well and he's on a first place team heading to the playoffs, I was a little shocked by that. So I thought be a good opportunity to look at him low on the low end. And if Houston puts together any kind of success in the postseason, he'd be a good candidate for a quicker flip.
And which card was that again? I'm just trying to get card ladder up. It's just a little slow to load.
2020 Topps Chrome.
And you're refractor. Looking at the refractor. Okay. Yep, got it. Yeah, I mean, this thing's been pretty flat since June. And now would be a good time. Astros are obviously going into the playoffs, and this card has seen almost 3 times the value of where it's at now at its highs. So definitely a good opportunity to once again minimal downside risk with plenty of upside. I mean, the low on this card over the last few months is $86, and if you could get it for around 100, you have minimal downside risk on that.
Yeah, and I threw out, I think one high was at like 500. So I usually, when I see an anomaly like that, I usually just throw that out. But he had 2 other peaks that were in the 300s, I believe, on this car.
362
Yeah.
was one, and 300 flat was one, and then some idiot bought it now for 499.95.
Yeah, so that one I throw out. But
Yeah.
the other 2 are real possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're looking 3 to 3.5x on the highs, and the $14 downside risk as far as recent lows. I mean, the card's all-time low was right when it came out at $80. So I mean, I would have to imagine there's not too much downside risk as far as getting in on this, and if he tears it up in the playoffs, you should be able to flip it and make some money.
Yeah, and if you can't get rid of it for what you want. We always see that next spike in that February, March, April range, and you hold on to it a little bit because again, your downside risk is minimal.
Yep. Alrighty. Anything else? Baseball.
No, my throat is sore now.
Yeah, we actually made you work this week and talk for more than 5 seconds at a time.
And I can't tell you how super pumped I am to hear about these basketball cards.
Yes, for those of you who struggled through that baseball segment and could give a shit less about baseball, like some of us, we'll move into basketball. All right, guy, calm down. We don't give you a stroke like you did last week. All right, so we're going to be looking at 2 guys from the 90s, both Hall of Famers, both cards incredibly affordable. First and foremost, 94, 95 finest Jason Kidd. This is about $150 to $200 the last few sales. The pop on this is 210. Normally with low pops like that, sometimes they can be hard to find, but 3 or 4 of these have sold in the last month, all in the $150 to $200 range. And unfortunately, he's not in card ladder, so we can't bring up the charts. But with Kidd, not only is he a Hall of Famer, he is also the current coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Putting him together with Luka, if they can do anything, that keeps him relevant in basketball. It keeps him relevant in the hobby. As one of the top probably 5 best point guards of all time, at that low of a price with that low of a pop, something that you should be able to afford if you're in this game, and therefore sit on it for a little bit, see how it reacts during basketball. If the Mavs are good, you may see a spike from that. And you should be able to either hold it long term. There's once again minimal downside risk on this, or flip it for short term if there's a pop once basketball season comes in. Starting to see the money come back in on some of this vintage basketball, if we're gonna call 90s vintage. I think there's definitely some opportunity there. And one other guy is Chris Webber, and we're looking at 93, 94 Chris Webber. That's 93 finest, PSA 10, currently at 228. This card had a high of $8.99, which we'll toss out as a buy it now, 610, and 560, currently at 228. I think that once again, this is at some recent lows, and we'll start to see some money come back into basketball here shortly. Chris Webber still very much involved in basketball. He was doing some commentating and some other stuff for a bit, so he hasn't completely disappeared from the spotlight. So I think also Hall of Fame guy, price around $200 for a PSA 10, low pop, good opportunity to start looking at this.
And if you're a BGS guy or gal, there's just less than 109.5s for $90. The last two average sold for.
Yeah.
So less than half of what the PSA 10's selling for.
I mean, for a $100 bill, to be able to take a Hall of Fame player and get, have that card, stick it in a drawer and see what happens in a few years. I mean, some of this stuff, as we see more money come into the hobby, people start buying nostalgia, and Weber and Kidd are exactly that. So, I think they're solid buys for where the price is right now.
I like to look at my cards, sir. I don't put them in drawers.
Do whatever you want with them. All right. you want to have little, slab wars and have them fight each other, you go right ahead and do that. Whatever floats your boat, guy.
Oh boy.
All right. We'll move on. Speaking of slab wars, we're gonna bring that segment back for this week. Actually, before we do that, I had a couple of other guys that we've covered on the investment section over the past 2 to 4 weeks, and their prices have not moved yet, and that's Burrow and Hurts. I mean, for the market, some of the super high end stuff moves, but I'm talking about the stuff that most people can afford. So your Burrow base PSA 9s, PSA 10s, it's going down. It's not going up. And I have a feeling that as soon as he steps on the field and proves to everybody that he's okay, that those cards move fast. And Burrow right now is 50% of Herbert on some of these cards, which he's the first pick in the draft. People anticipate he has weapons and he can sling it. So once he proves that he's okay, I think you could see his card spike quick.
So if I bought one a couple weeks ago, should I buy another and cut my average cost in half?
If you have the money, it's something that you can look at. But I'll bring up some charts real quick if Card Ladder would load for us. Let me see.
Because I'll do that all the time. I'll get a card and I'm like, shoot, that thing's still plummeting. Let me get another one. And then I
mean, when I say going down, I'm not talking about plummeting. I mean, they're going somewhat sideways, which is a slightly downward trajectory, I guess you could say. Let's see, his PSA 10 base, beginning of August was in the 420s, 430s, currently at 390 to 400. So not plummeting, but you'd think that we're about to kick off the season that this stuff would start to creep up. Herbert stuff starting to creep up. Burrow stuff.
I need to see Burrow on the field. I think that stuff's still safe.
Yeah. But
plus everyone's got Mac Jones fever now. That's where the money's going, dude.
Okay. Don't step on our hot take for a little bit later.
That's a hot take today?
Yeah, guy. We're talking Mac Jones for hot take here.
We got to go back and revisit our bet we made. I think we made a Mac Jones bet.
Well, way to read the show notes before we start, guy. But yeah, I mean the Burrow card, there's the Prism base PSA 10, for example, has peaked at 800, and the range on this is 6 to 750 as where it was last, I guess in springtime. I think as soon as he steps on the field and throws a few touchdowns and people are like, Burrow is back, and they have that positive feeling from him, I think that this thing is no problem. You're going to be looking at $600 to $700 again.
It'd be a fun thing to do. Check current PSA 10 listings for Joe Burrow right now, and then after everyone puts up their 7-day auctions ending Sunday night of week 1, how many are there?
Yeah, I think that there'll be a lot, and I think that if he comes out and throws for 303 touchdowns at the end of week 1, you can kiss being able to get this for $390 to $400 goodbye for a while. And provided he doesn't get hurt again and he has a decent season, I think you're going to be looking at, Herbert prices. Because if you look at Herbert right now, his stuff, these guys were basically, you could buy it at the same prices. And, once Burrow got hurt, you couldn't buy it at those prices anymore. Freaking Card Ladder changed up the way that you do searches, which makes things a pain in my ass. Yeah, right now Herbert's stuff is at 600, and the upper range on Herbert was like 900 to 1100, and now his regular range is $600. So I think Burrow, once he comes on the field and proves that he can play, I think you're looking at that same $600 tag. The other guy is Hurts. We actually had Hurts as an investment of the week a couple of weeks ago. And, we are up a little bit. We're up about 10% on this. We got ours at about $200. It is now $221. He was named the starter, even though they brought in Gardner Minshew.
And traded for Deshaun Watson.
Yes, and traded for Deshaun Watson, who refused.
Breaks on Jalen here.
Yeah, but at the same time, Jalen's going to be out there week 1, and it's going to be
no doubt.
It's going to be up to him as far as what he's going to do on the field. And right now, his cards have been steadily holding on to that $200 level. If he comes out and produces, I think he then moves up into the next tier, and his stuff will be consistently at that $350 to $400 level.
Do we know if he was headed to the Texans in that deal?
We do not, but one would think that the Texans would have required him in return.
I was wondering if that's why they brought in the shoe. Could play for Deshaun if he went to jail or something. And then they're okay still.
Either that or they didn't want Joe Flacco as their backup, I guess, in the event Hurts can't perform. I don't know.
Either way, as a Giants fan, I'm happy I don't have Deshaun Watson now in the division.
Yes. Thank you, Deshaun, for vetoing that deal. In case you're listening. Anyway, so yeah, Hurts and Burrow both are going sideways, and I think those guys everybody is waiting with bated breath as far as whether or not they're going to be able to perform. And I think if they do, I think that the prices are going to skyrocket. And I think that you're going to start seeing Burrow at that $600 price tag, and then Hurts at $350 to $400.
Especially if they're performing, and you look to see what you got to spend to get a 2021 quarterback rookie card. You might opt for the 2020.
I'd buy two guys that are in their second year performing well over rookies that are going to be up and down all season. But we'll get to that once again when we cover our hot takes for this week. But moving on, quick Slab Wars. For those of you that aren't familiar with what Slab Wars is, there is an ever-increasing interest in comparisons of prices between the different slabbing companies. When we originally started this segment about a month ago, we were only covering SGC HGA PSA and BGS. We're going to start to add CSG into this mix. CSG took a violent leap into relevance recently with Fanatics buying the rights to all of sports cards, or not all of, but baseball, basketball, and football. For those of you that don't know, Fanatics is owned by Michael Rubin. Michael Rubin also is a heavy investor in a venture capital firm who bought CSG. So Michael Rubin and his partner Jay-Z are now owners of CSG through this venture capital firm. So that makes them a relevant player in this space. One would have to think that they're going to be making some moves at some point to push CSG into the spotlight and get them some relevancy.
Like not making their label fugly.
Like not making their label fugly. Yeah, you have so much anger towards grading companies.
No, I'm allowed to have opinions, guy.
Yeah, you are, but considering you've submitted your first card for grading less than 3 months ago, and you have so much anger towards grading companies.
Well, it's been pent up because I've been wanting to send for a long time.
Fair enough. And actually, while we're doing this, you can help me out because I actually honestly neglected your favorite grading company in these comparisons. So, first card we're going to talk about is 2009 Topps Stephen Curry, as it's on his card, but Steph Curry for those of you that are familiar with him. So we have CSG 9 on July 9th, best offer 1100. On August 26th, 1850, best offer. SGC 9.5, because we could not find a 9 for SGC, 2250. So you have a 9.5 at 2250 versus a CSG 9 at 1850. So that's that's where it should be. HGA surprising on this because normally HGA does fairly well and is fairly competitive with basketball, but HGA auction closing on 8/16 for 910, HGA 9, and a 9.5, which also normally does better than the rest of these, closed on a $1,000 best offer on 8/16 as well. So all these within a week to 10 days of each other in the off season. Shouldn't have that much impact as far as that time. And then PSA bringing up the 800-pound gorilla. PSA 9 closed on 826 for 2600 best offer, and 817 2320 at auction. So you're seeing PSA 9s close for 30 to 40% more than some, and then 100% more against HGA. With that time, have you been able to pull me a BGS 9 for this, for comparison?
Yeah, BGS 9, I've got a best offer on August 25th of 1400.
Okay.
And then I have two best offers on 9.5s, one at 2750 on July 23rd, and one at 2975 this past Friday, August 27th.
Okay. So the BGS 9 says 14...
1400.
1400. So yeah, so BGS 9 is, I guess, it's less than CSG. It's probably in line with an SGC 9, and HGA just completely below everybody on this one. And then obviously almost 50, it's probably 60% of what PSA 9. So once again, PSA still obviously the leader here. And then all these other companies, CSG, SGC, BGS, in line with each other. And then for this particular card, HGA is way off the mark. Usually HGA with basketball is competitive, but in this particular case for this card, not even close. And that's the part that's bothersome to me, is like right now I think people are still feeling this out, and the values can be all over the place.
And I have to say, I mean, while I do enjoy a HGA label, I just think some of them are you're looking at this card of Curry, and you may just say to yourself, I love his card, I just don't want that label. As much as I think CSG is ugly, one of these weird color ones on HGA somebody might love, and somebody else might say forget it. And if you got half the bidders already out on it just because of they don't like the label, then there it is.
Yep. And I think that, I mean, and that goes back to the theory that the people that are buying HGA for the most part are the young and, have a little bit less money, unless it's a card that you just can't turn down. For example, we saw a 2018 Josh Allen Kaboom HGA 9.5 close for $7,500 about 48 hours ago.
Were there any PSAs, any PSA 10s that had closed? Because that's what I'm wondering now. If people are realizing that HGAs on certain cards are just falling well off the mark, as bad as the HGA pop report is, it's going to get worse because everyone's going to be cracking these slabs open, and I mean, especially a card like that, you can afford to send a PSA.
Well, trust me, dude, I've definitely thought about it as far as like anything that has a $1,000 or more discrepancy. between, like, if you have an SGC 10 and a PSA 10 and there's $1,000 or $2,000 discrepancy, I would crack the shit out of that SGC card and submit it and hope that they have the same standards.
And half of me absolutely hates that because I value population reports. But I said a long, long time ago that population reports are useless sometimes, depending on the card.
Well, we would do the ethical thing and tell, SGC that we cracked their card and gave it up. Yeah, I have no problems with that. So here's the interesting statistics on the Allen Kaboom. PSA 10 on August 9th closed for $6,988. HGA 9.5 on August 29th closed for $7,521. Both auctions.
And those are the only two we've seen?
No, there's a ton. I mean, PSA 10 on August 6th closed for $6,000 flat. Best offer accepted. Another best offer accepted, $6,000 end of July.
Well, so with that information, I'm not cracking that HGA.
No, I mean, there isn't enough meat there for whatever reason. It doesn't come back at a PSA 10, then you're screwed. But in the case of the Steph Curry card, if I could get the card from HGA for $900 and then it's worth $2,400 at PSA, I'd crack that, spend the $200, and then I'm in for $1,100 with a $1,300 potential profit.
And just in case people aren't following, you're suggesting that a 9.5 at HGA has a good shot of scoring a 10 at PSA.
No. I'm talking about nines, like nines or nines, like.
Oh, yeah. So an HGA 9, you're assuming you're going to get at least a 9 at PSA.
Yes. So I think the way that the way that these grading companies have aligned themselves, SGC is like PSA, that SGC 10s are 10s, and then HGA, I think, regards themselves a little bit more like BGS. They do not give out a whole lot of 10s. So the equivalent of a BGS 9.5 is the same as an HGA 9.5, in that you could have 4 subgrade 9.5s that could get you a 10 at SGC or PSA.
Yeah, that's when I get into fights with people. That's what everyone always says. They say SGC 10 equals PSA 10 equals BGS 9.5 equals HGA 9.5.
Yeah.
So they're all considered the same in their argument, the same caliber card inside. So the HGA 9.5, Beckett 9.5 is the same good condition card as in the PSA 10 and SGC 10.
But the values can be grossly off.
Oh, the values are all over the place. Because again, at the end of the day, you throw a 10 on something and people see 10 versus a 9.5, it's gonna skew things, period.
Yeah, I would agree. And there's a incredibly large example of that the other day when a Jordan 1986 Fleer Jordan PSA 10 closed for $400,000 and a Jordan 1986 Fleer BGS 9.5 closed for $72,000. I'll take that freaking $72,000. Like, if I had that cash, I'll take the BGS 9.5 for $72,000 all day long.
All day. And it's probably in better condition than the PSA 10.
All right, God. We promised people that you weren't gonna rant against PSA today, guy. We gave you your baseball segment. We can't give you too much talk time here.
No, serve the truth.
So, that's the problem, is that everything's all over the place. PSA still the gold standard, and we're going to continue to cover these things, but. The theories are that SGC, as they're growing in popularity and credibility and yada yada, but I haven't seen it yet. Like, I have not seen it as of yet. I'll get to the next example that I have here. 2020 Prism, Justin Herbert. We're looking at 9s. So CSG 9 closed for $95. This is all within the last week of when we're recording. CSG 9 closed for $95, SGC 9 closed for $105, and an HGA closed. We have 2 of those that closed, one for 90 at auction and then one for 120 best offer. PSA closed for 160. So once again, PSA 9, 160. You're talking, $65 more than the rest of these cards, or $60 more than the rest of these cards, which is a 50 to 60% increase, which is crazy. But in this particular case, on lower end cards, CSG, SGC, HGA all seem to be in line with each other for the most part.
The last Beckett 9 auction, Friday the 27th, 115.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking $5 differences, not tremendously large, and that could just be human interaction as far as something in an auction. But all 4 of those companies, other than PSA, all in line. So obviously, with these types of things, with a $200 sub fee at PSA, I'm not even thinking about cracking it. But at the same time, for the value of the condition of the card, if you're looking for PC, I would say buy anything but PSA. But if you're looking for resale value, PSA has to be what you got.
I think that's the perfect device for resale. For whatever reason, PSA wins. We get it. So I think that's exactly right. It's interesting though. I'm cringing. I'm looking at some of these PSA listings lately, and if you're getting into the game in the last month or two and have no idea about PSA closing, Beckett closing, and your first intro to grading is $200 submissions, and you see Herbert rookie cards closing for $160, are you freaking out? Like, what am I missing?
It's possible. But at that point, though, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, SGC HGA didn't have anywhere near the brand name that they have now, and CSG, obviously, I think they're going to do nothing but grow here in the next 12 months to a year.
Well, BGS needs to get its head out of its ass and make a move here.
Yeah, you ride for BGS hard, and everybody knows that. And for me, my day job is marketing, and BGS is the worst out of the 5 of these companies as far as marketing is concerned.
Absolutely. I got to be fair about it. They got to get their head out of their ass right now.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think they're run by a bunch of dinosaurs that are living like this is 1987, and they're not making efforts to improve their social media, increase their online presence, work with athletes, work with things that are going to build up their reputation and usher them into a new era of collectors. They have a bunch of guys like you who are 40 plus that know the Beckett brand name, but guys that are in their 20s that are in this game don't know who the fuck Beckett is.
No, Beckett's worried about calling me once a month, asking me why I'm not subscribing to their price guide anymore. That's what they're worried about.
Yeah.
Once a month, I get a Texas phone call.
Yeah. Well, it took me 2 months to get my subscription canceled. And then I had to fight with my credit card company because Beckett refused to give me a refund. And they, when I talked to somebody on the phone, they said they canceled my subscription and I got charged 2 more times. So, they're drowning at this point because once PSA closed, that triggered everybody to flood into Beckett from because they had no other choice. But I don't think that the younger generation of the hobby knows anything about Beckett. Nothing. And
they don't put themselves out there. To your point, yeah. As you're saying that about social media, I was like, damn, I never see them.
Zero.
Unless I just know it because I'm older, as you suggested, and I just go there. I just go to the site because there's things I use and find useful with it, and I had the magazine every month delivered to my house for 20 years,
Yeah.
Crazy.
But a guy who's 27 years old that is looking to get into the hobby definitely knows SGC and HGA well before they know anything about Beckett. And I think...
Oh, yeah. I talk to dudes every day like, Beckett, you must be 80.
Get off my lawn. So I think that when Beckett eventually reopens, whenever that may be, if they don't take a different approach to this, that Beckett will become a specialized baseball, older generation type of grading company. But anything that's football, basketball, newer cards, the value is not going to be there.
Yeah, listen, I don't know what their bottom line looks like. I don't know where they're generating their most money from, but I have to imagine if they're not sitting in a room right now and about to launch some calculated reopening at affordable prices, they're going to be in a big trouble.
Yep, I would have to agree that they have to look at some serious marketing stuff in order to get back in the game.
Think about it. If they jumped out right now with some special like $30-$40, and baseball dudes be all over that. After what they've been sitting around waiting on and seeing, if you're not an HGA fan or SGC fan, and Beckett, jumps ahead of PSA with a real low but a reasonable setting,
yeah,
so you're not just setting.
If they came out with a $50 price point right now, said, "Hey guys, we're Beckett. I know you've never heard of us, but this is what we, this is who we are, and this is our pedigree, and we've been around, almost as long as PSA, and here's $50. We want your business." And they were able to service it in a reasonable amount of time. I think you'd have a ton of people that jumped in on it.
That's the move I'm looking for. They've got to make a move.
I would say you're going to be holding your breath for a while. But anyway, all right, we're running long, so let's keep it moving. Hot take: Mac Jones. Big news from today. Cam Newton cut. Mac Jones named starter. I definitely have lost a bet on Mac Jones to, I guess, 2 people. I don't even remember what bet you and I had with Mac Jones.
I think ours was like a 10-year bet, like who was going to have the better career, Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones.
Yes.
We'll have to go back and listen to that. But
did I have one of us? Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember which one I had. But anyway, that wasn't even the Mac Jones bet that I lost. I lost a Mac Jones bet with a friend of mine, a friend of ours actually, who I said that Mac Jones would not be playing before week 5. Apparently, I was way off on that.
Wow.
But with that being said, everybody's going to be looking for Mac Jones stuff. I think he's going to, other than Trevor Lawrence, who's already way too expensive. As soon as the new products come out, Mosaic's going to be coming out here in the next week and a half. People are going to be spending through the roof for Mac Jones, and my take on this is you're going to be left holding the bag. The Patriots offense is not that great. Mac Jones is going to struggle at times like any other rookie quarterback does. So it may come out of the gate super high, but by week 6 or 8, we said it last week, the prices are going to cool off. New products keep coming out. People are continuing to chase the new and shiny until Prism comes out in December. And, the stuff that you're going to buy from Mac Jones in week 1 and 2 is going to be worth half by week 6 and 7. So this is more of a public service warning than a hot take. But I think if you are one of the guys that buying new product with Mac Jones singles, you're going to pay twice as much as you should be paying if you can just wait a little bit.
But the fear is if he throws 40 touchdowns this year, never see him.
He's not throwing 40 touchdowns this year. I understand the New England faithful are a rowdy bunch and love to support their quarterback, but the Tom Brady, he has a long way to go to fill the shoes of Tom Brady.
No, Guy, what we'll do is opening MLB Day next year, we'll buy ourselves a bunch of 2021 rookie NFL quarterbacks on opening baseball day next year. See how we do.
That's exactly what I'd be looking at. I mean, if you would have taken that, as far as buying into Herbert in September.
We bought Herbert and Burrow in April.
Yeah, if you bought Herbert and Burrow in September of 2020 versus April of 21, you'd probably have done a lot better if you waited until the end of the season and into spring. So that's what we're doing. I don't give a shit that Mac Jones is a starter and it's New England and he's the second coming of Tom Brady, depending on which Patriots fans you talk to. From a card market standpoint, look at any rookie quarterback over the last few years since the hobby got hot. Guys start out really, really high and fall off after that initial frenzy. So just don't fall into that same trap as everybody else.
And your break prices might go up a couple bucks too, because now you got another starter.
Break prices are going to be insane.
Well, they were already going to be insane, but now you got another starter.
Yeah,
you can tack a few more bucks onto your Patriots PYD.
Yeah, the Patriots, Jaguars, Jets are going to be bananas. Lawrence, Trey Lance, and Fields, not starters. More than likely, Fields will be the starter before Lance, especially since Lance has a chip or bone something in his finger. But you have 3 guys that are going to be starting, rookies. Anyway, all right, moving on. The unfortunate news: J.K. Dobbins out for the season. Not a huge hobby market on Dobbins, but definitely something to take a look at. He still had a really good rookie campaign. Could have made some noise this year. So just give us a quick rundown. This is a similar injury to Cam Akers, I believe we've already talked about, but just walk us through real quick, and then we'll talk some cards and some prices.
Yeah, like we said with Cam Akers, there's a lot of data that suggests there's guys that just don't come back, or there's clear definitive decrease in production. It was funny. Before I get into what I was going to talk about, I was looking up some stuff, and one guy did a whole fantasy production perspective on all running back NFL injuries over the last 20 years.
Okay.
And he was looking at touchdowns, yards, and for wide receivers, he was doing receptions across the board, all down, following ACL. And he was looking at entire careers. It was interesting. I was just laughing because it was that I thought was pretty cool. We talked about Joe Burrow and how quarterbacks with the doing less of the cutting and the pivoting and less of the explosion running, you can get away with it a little more. I mean, look at Tom Brady. What was that, 2004? Got his knee turned around backwards. He's obviously fine. A lot of scenarios where pocket passers. Even a guy like Donovan McNabb came back okay. Did he lose a little mobility in the running? Sure. But he was still able to perform. Running back's a different position though, so it's tough. A lot of running back. I mean, look at some of the great ones like Terrell Davis and Jamal Anderson. They never recovered. Yeah. They were pretty much done after their ACL injuries. Now, granted, that was a lot more years ago, and they've better techniques, surgical techniques and stuff now, better rehabilitation strategies and such. James, who had a great career, but if you look at his numbers post-injury, he had a couple good ones and then he fell off. There's definitely some concern with some, and a lot of these guys had their injuries later on in their careers, and Dobbins just getting started, so it's gonna be hard to say. You got your freaks. You got your freaks like Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson, and you wouldn't even know that they had ACL surgery. Those guys, so. It's hard to say. Definitely, running backs and ACL injuries, there's definitely some cause for concern in terms of his longevity. But with today's surgical techniques and rehab techniques, I have no doubt he'll make a strong comeback.
Yeah, and with that being said, from a card perspective, we'll be looking at, wait until mid to end of season, or even a little bit into, that'd probably be when you can get this for pennies on the dollar as far as Dobbins is concerned. And if you're holding Dobbins, just continue to hold. I would not panic dump now because you're not going to get anywhere near what you want for it. So I would be looking at higher end RPAs, Prism Silvers, Prism Silver Autos. We unfortunately were in that same boat. We picked one up for about $75, a Prism Silver Auto that we were hoping to send off to get graded. And we'll probably just sit on it. And then we got it for $75. I would imagine you're going to get that card all day for $50 in another couple months once people, he's out and people forget it. So if you can find them, I would look at, higher end product autos, for Dobbins if you are a Dobbins fan, or B, want to take a flyer, because if he comes back strong and healthy and puts up 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns next season, you'll obviously easily double up on your money.
Yeah, and then for me, I feel even worse for him because they pretty much cleared out the running back field for him, right?
They got rid of Ingram.
Yeah, and Gus Edwards was going to probably get some goal line work or whatever, but Dobbins was going to be the feature back.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they make Gus Edwards cards, but if they do, you can pick some of those up.
My point is, there's nobody tremendous behind him, so you may want to wait till April's draft and see if they decide that they need a running back.
Yeah, the rumor is Gurley is gonna be brought in on like a 1-year deal. So.
All right, yeah. So that wouldn't concern me with Dobbins cards. I'd be concerned if I wanted to bet the comeback, right? So we're talking short flip here, meaning when he makes it back onto the field short. Yeah. I'm not worried about a Gurley or a vet being brought in. I'm worried about the NFL draft in April, and they bring in, depending when they draft or who they draft.
Yeah, and by then they'll know where he's at and what his status is. But the rumor is Gurley's going to come in, and I honestly, I've looked at Gurley cards before too. Speaking of him, in the off chance, take a look at his stuff. His stuff is so cheap. And, he's been so consistent. Granted, I think he only has 8 years under his belt, but, he has double-digit touchdowns in 6 or 7 of those years and, 1,000 yards in 6 or 7 of those years. So, if he had any kind of longevity, I think he easily gets vaulted into a much higher conversation, but catches on with the Ravens. Ravens are competitive enough that they could challenge for, into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl, but you could see some spikes on Gurley if the Ravens do sign him and they win games. All right. Last but not least, we will close out with one peanut gallery question. It looks like Deshaun Watson is not getting traded and not playing. What do I do with his cards?
Well, I missed that on the show sheet, sir. Are you sure that's on there?
Yeah, that's on the show sheet, guy.
All right. What do you do with his cards? Well, if it was me, I already sold them. I got rid of him the second he got accused of X, Y, and Z. But what do you do with him? I don't know. They're so foggy, these details on, is he in trouble? Is he not in trouble? Are we just to assume he's a strange guy? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't know any other facts other than what's in the news, so I don't even know what to tell you. Is the guy an elite quarterback when he's on the field? Yeah. He was in the top 5.
Yeah, I think if you're still on the Deshaun train, you are riding this thing till the wheels fall off. And right now you're still on the track and it's still moving in some capacity. For those of you, just catching up, it came out today that he vetoed a trade to Philly. He wants to go to Miami. The asking price to Miami is too high, and more than likely he's going to, I think as of right now, all the deadlines are closed. He's on the Texans' 53-man roster. The Texans have said that he will not play for them.
Yeah, they're saying they'll just make him inactive every week.
Yeah, they'll list him as an inactive every week. So more than likely, his cards are going to get beat up more, I have to think. But at the same time, depending on when you got in. Like if you're in recent and you try to buy in on the dip with all this, like I did, like I have a couple cards that I got fairly cheap in comparison with their other values. And, so I'm holding. I'll sit on those cards, and if he goes down in flames and goes to jail, then I'll just have to eat it. But, right now, I have a couple cards that I bought in for, a couple $100 a piece that I could easily get 4 to 5x out of if he actually steps foot back on the field. So I'm sitting tight. If you haven't gotten out already and you're in it at a reasonable price, I would ride it out and see what's going to happen because, as Bunk said, details are still foggy.
Yeah, and then, listen, if you're a Deshaun Watson truther and you want to hold these cards because you really feel like there's going to, then if it was me and I had, whatever my portfolio was, I'm taking half of it. And if I can get, to your point, reasonable prices for my entry point, I'm getting rid of it because I just can't trust this.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is if Philly was willing to make a deal, they have to know something, or they put contingencies in, like if he goes to jail, the deal is off. I don't know how that's going to work.
That it was Philadelphia.
Yeah, true.
So let's not put too much stock in that.
True. I'm sure there's a certain person in your life that wouldn't be happy to hear that, but I don't think she listens to this podcast.
No, she doesn't.
All right. Well, with that said, episode 23 is in the books. Circling back once again, if you want to enter the secret card giveaway, send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. Follow us on social media, SportsCardADVTG on all channels, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. And then also, we still have a couple more slots we want to fill in the Sports Card Advantage Fantasy League. Send us an email, info@sportscardadvantage.com. I promise we'll have some great prizes, so join in and have some fun with us. Anything else for the people?
I'm not losing that fantasy league, guy.
Of course not, guy.
You're not going to need prizes.
Well, we already said we're going to give away the prizes in a randomizer if we win. Yeah, it wouldn't be very nice if we offered people prizes and didn't give one out. So, any which way, somebody other than us is going to win something. So, join up and have some fun with us. Anything else for the people before we shut it down for the week?
No, sir.
All right. We are officially 9 days away from TB12 taking the field and the football season kicking off. So next week, before football season starting, we'll probably go real heavy on football. And I forgot to make the announcement. I am 90% sure we will have Sports Card Advantage first guest ever in the history of the show on next week's episode. So tune in to that. And we'll throw some hype out there. I'm not going to announce his name yet, just for whatever reason it doesn't come to fruition. But he is a full-time flipper, YouTuber, super into the hobby. So hopefully he'll be on, and we'll have a great show.
I think that people want to know, why did you even mention Tom Brady?
Because Tom Brady is my fantasy football quarterback.
Oh, okay.
To go along with my fantasy football running back of Saquon Barkley.
Both former ACL injuries.
Yes. Well, they're going to bounce back and win me a championship. On that note, we're shutting it down. We'll see you next week.